Hey there friends, welcome to Just the Gems. I'm Brandon. I started this channel ostensibly to give myself an excuse/motivation to get through all of these games that I've accumulated in my backlog. We're talking hundreds of JRPGs and other similarly long and involved sorts of games. And these are ranging from the original Nintendo all the way into modern era PlayStation 5 games. I have a lot of them. The idea behind the channel was I would take one of these old games that I had never played, play it, record some footage, write a review, and present that review to you. One thing I quickly discovered though was there are several games that I've already played that I really want an excuse to talk about. And so I figured, why should I limit myself to just the games that I haven't played? Maybe I want to gab about a game I've played quite thoroughly. I need to chase that feeling. So let's chase it together, shall we? The first game I've chosen to talk about in this pre-certified gems collection is one that might strike some people as a little bit odd. It's a JRPG, but it doesn't fit nicely into any of the categories that you might put other JRPGs. The closest equivalent, I guess, would be the Persona series, but it's about as different from Persona as you can get. That's in terms of style, gameplay, emotions evoked. Enough beating around the bush, you already know the game because you can read the title of the video. It's Blue Reflection. I felt really fortunate to find this game for $190 at a convention, Midwest Gaming Classic. Check it out if you're in the Midwest. I was afraid that my opinion of the game would be colored a little bit by the fact that I had spent so much money on it. Like, if I play this game that I spent $190 US on, would I feel like a chump if I ended up not liking it? So I did my best in my initial playthrough to push all that aside, forget about how much the game cost me, and just experience it. What I found was that this was a game that affected me on a deeply emotional level in ways that I could not have anticipated. Real quick, before we dive in, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. To those of you who are subscribing and watch my videos, I want you to know how much I appreciate you. Love you all so much. Anyway, on to the review. Blue Reflection is like pure melancholy in game form. Maybe that's not a great way to sell it. I guess I need you to consider that I'm not thinking of melancholy in a strictly negative sense. There's something about pensiveness that feels nostalgic to me. Maybe that means my childhood wasn't great, who knows? But the feelings of nostalgia that Blue Reflection evokes in me are pretty great, and that's what I'm here to talk about. Now you're thinking, Brandon, how can this game make you feel nostalgic? Were you ever a Japanese high school girl? To answer your question, no, I am not, nor have I ever been, a Japanese high school girl, to the best of my knowledge anyway. No, the feelings of nostalgia that Blue Reflection surfaces for me are more indistinct, a sort of melancholy wistfulness that I'm having a hard time describing. It's sunlight filtering through a dirty window. It's boredom, sitting in classes that I'm not interested in. It's friends that want to be closer to me, but that I keep at arm's length as an act of self-preservation. My lived experience differs from the characters in Blue Reflection, but the game is speaking a common language, or at least a language I understand. Blue Reflection is a magical girl story about some teens that have to harness the power of emotions to stop an ancient evil. On a very surface level, it's cliche and maybe even a little trite. I'm a big story lover, and even I have to admit, the plot itself isn't what carried me through. It's not a bad story. The character work is quite good, actually, but there's a higher element at work in this game. Blue Reflection is, as the younger generations might say, a big mood, or said is probably more accurate. Pop culture moves too fast now. I can't keep up. Where are my glasses? Get off my lawn, etc. Hinako Shirai was a teenage ballet dancer. She was good, too. At least until a knee injury forced her to hang up the tutu forever. Now she's entering high school with no friends and no dreams for the future. Hinako is not the nicest person. She doesn't fit the cheerful, magical girl mold at all. Her injury seems to have sapped her of her patience for other people, as well as her interest in them. She's a bit snappy and short, but she seems to have a memory of the person she used to be. When she's rude in a sort of knee-jerk way, she usually realizes pretty quickly that she shouldn't have said what she said, and she tries to make it right. She's struggling, but she's trying. She does manage to make some friends, most notably her magical girl partners in crime, Yuzu and Lime. They're responsible for front-loading the lore exposition for you, another storytelling no-no in my opinion. All the complicated rules that govern your magical girl powers get fed to you pretty early on by your fruit-monikered friends. Fortunately, that's all over fairly quickly, and you can get back to simply focusing on the vibe. Hinako, Yuzu, and Lime have to help their friends whose emotions are going rampant, which basically means they're getting overly emotional in strange ways. No doubt their already tumultuous teenage hormones are getting an otherworldly boost from some ancient evil. They travel into the world of the collective unconscious, which they call the common, in order to find fragments of their friends' feelings. By collecting these fragments, they increase their own power and make themselves ready to face the Sephiroth. The Sephiroth are extremely messed up demon god things that look like they took a wrong turn on the way to Silent Hill. Stylistically, they are such a stark contrast to the feathery lightness of the rest of the game that they really remind you of the enormity of what's at stake. I won't delve into exactly what's at stake in order to stay spoiler light. As you explore the common searching for fragments, you'll run into your fair share of monsters. The battle system is fairly straightforward, but fairly fun too. It utilizes a timeline to show when your characters and the enemies can attack. You can use certain moves to knock enemies further back on the timeline too, delaying their actions. It brings a nice dose of strategizing into the mix. There are difficulty options too, so it's unlikely the battles will keep you from progressing in the game. But overall, it's a balanced system, and I don't think you're likely to get too frustrated. In between missions to the common, you'll bond with your classmates, who are all girls by the way. It's a girls' school for one, but actually the entire world of the game seems to be one without the existence of men. Well, that's not true. The characters talk about men, but men are never actually seen. This remains true in the sequel anime series, Blue Reflection Ray, as well, so I get the impression it was a conscious choice and not like a coincidence. It's an interesting idea, and it kind of lends the setting a sort of dreamlike sensibility, but it's also maybe a little creepy, because the camera likes to focus on these children's legs, and the amount of detail that went into modeling that child's wet shirt is a little disturbing. That's my quick message to game and anime creators. If you're creating a project starring characters who are children, let's, keep that in mind. They're children, anyway. The translation is pretty good, though it does fall prey to some lazy writing tropes from time to time. Every time someone translates korewa as this is, an angel loses its wings and falls into eternal torment. It's bad writing, but it's a literal translation, and so you see it way too often in anime-inspired games. Blue Reflection isn't particularly more guilty of this than most other games, but I figure if I start pointing it out every time I see it, maybe I can help in some small way to purge that from our collective consciousness. Our common, if you will. So that's the game. It's not overwhelming, and it doesn't feel too sparse. It's enough. But in this era of too many games, enough is, ironically, not enough. That's where the mood comes in, and pulls this game up from okay to extraordinary. And the mood is helped immensely by the music. Hayato Asano has done quite a bit of composing for developer Gust before, and his style here is sparse but energetic, somehow sad but upbeat. The tracks will worm their way into your mind and take up residence. Special attention must be paid to the main theme of the game, which is heartbreakingly beautiful and simple, with piano harmonies and the ambient sounds of the city flowing throughout. Also, the first battle theme, called Overdose, is one of my favorite combat songs in the last 10 years. It's a freaking bop. The graphical presentation isn't particularly impressive in any of its component parts, but taken as a whole, the visual style is gorgeous. I mentioned the light coming through the windows, and I stand by that. It's a simple visual, though
one I imagine is much harder to pull off in a video game than in real life, but it evokes so much emotion in me that I need to mention it again. It's the little touches like these that elevate the aesthetics from merely okay to something akin to beautiful. It's not a perfect game, but it doesn't need to be. It's haunting and weird and sad and full of all the awkwardness and angst and hope that comes with being a teenager. It's breathtaking, and maybe that's overselling it, but it's just hard to put into words how this melancholy work of modern art moved me. I'll leave it at that.
So those are my thoughts on Blue Reflection. Now, I'm looking forward to playing through the second game this year. That's going to happen at some point, I am 95% certain. So I will have thoughts on that when the time comes. Also, if you're into anime, I highly recommend you check out Blue Reflection Ray. It's streaming on Crunchyroll. It's a great story, well worth your time. What do you think? Is this a weird choice? I mean, I feel like I can say that, yeah, it is. But what are your thoughts? Have you played Blue Reflection? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Are you indifferent to it? Let me know in the comments how you feel. Also, if there are any games that you think I should cover on this channel, let me know in the comments as well. I would love to hear your recommendations. Chances are, if you recommend a game, I have it, probably haven't played it. So please let me know what you think I should take on next. Anyway, you all are fantastic. If you sat here this long listening to me talk about this Japanese high school girl JRPG, you deserve an award. I don't have one for you, unfortunately. I spent all my money on Blue Reflection. But anyway, thanks again for watching, and until next time, bye.